Hi everyone, Stephen here. So I've just basically released an article out there on the power of concentration, and it fits in well with the video that I'd released a couple of days ago and also a couple of posts, because we're entering this period of where we're setting ourselves these new goals, these new ambitions, this kind of vision for what we want our new year to look like. And I'd mentioned about that's all great, setting those targets, but the reality is that a lot of us will not go and achieve much of what we set out to do. And it's because of mindset. It's the power of that mindset, that focus. And essentially when the going gets tough, a lot of us will just cave and just forget about our goals and just kind of fade into the abyss with them. And we'll come to 2021, December, and it will be a case of, oh, well, maybe I didn't achieve that. So what I'll do is I'll go and do it next year in 2022 and so on. So basically what this blog is about is looking at the power of concentration. And it's the post is quite heavy hitting in a sense that towards the end to go into quite a bit of the neuroscience around concentration and around mindset and what actually happens when we're kind of exposing ourselves to certain situations and what happens with things like neurotransmitters, the release of dopamine. I'm not going to go into that in this video. The intention of this is just give a kind of a brief overview of that article, just to kind of give you a little bit of the salient points within there. And because the reality, so with concentration, so the majority of us throughout the day, we will actually only be spending, out of say an 8 to 10 hour working day, we'll only probably be spending a few hours at our productive best. And the rest of the time we'll be doing things like we might be kind of browsing email, we might be kind of looking at some sports site, just having a little bit of a break, we might be on Facebook, other kind of social media, and so on. And the question you have to ask yourself with that is, if we could increase that 2 to 3 hours of productivity, then what would that actually look like? What would that actually do for us in actually achieving our goals? Now, what I'm completely not saying is that we should be working full out for those kind of 8 to 10 hours at our productive best. That is probably impossible, and we will soon be hitting burnout if that was the case. But it's just having a think about how we may balance some of the activities out, so we are still able to achieve some of our bigger goals whilst also doing some of the other things as well. So basically this is a concept, it's the concentration that we talk about in the article is looking at kind of a military context called situational awareness. And it's about how we can become aware of things that are going on around us, that we can basically optimize our environment to be the best possible environment for our own productivity, for our own awareness, so we can become basically ingrained in basically the best possible situation to go ahead and achieve some of those goals. So it's looking at things like, what does the setting need to be like for you to perform to your best? What kind of things is it that you actually are motivated by and that you will perform your best to? What will it be when you hit your peak state? What does that look like? Like an example for me is that when I'm at my peak state, I tend to always have a form of music on, and it tends to be something a bit more upbeat. And that if I want to kind of really kind of downgrade some of my activity to allow me to rest and recover, that switches over to be something kind of a lot more calm or a lot more therapeutic and so on. And then for me personally as well, kind of throwing exercise into that mix. So having a run as that mental refresher, that's something different to separate those activities out and help aid that concentration. Because the reality of this, it's all about kind of putting you back in the driving seat. It's about not procrastinating. It's not going off onto Facebook, on social media, on BBC Sport. And essentially, when it comes to the end of the day, you sat there thinking, oh, well, I've done these kind of work activities, but I've not actually done anything else towards my goals. And, it's about making it so you can control that. So you know what you're spending your time on, what you're kind of optimizing your work for, what you're optimizing your hours for, your day for, and that you're creating the environment for basically success. So that's the kind of things that we talk about in that article. As I mentioned, it does kind of go a little bit heavy into some of the neuroscience. I'm sure many of you will find that super interesting. I know I personally do. And it also helps a little bit just to have this stuff in the back of your mind, because it just knowing about how the brain operates can actually help us to create that environment to essentially succeed and to essentially smash some of those goals. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy reading the article as well. In the coming weeks, there will be more on this as we begin to look at that mindset, and we're looking at that shift of not only setting our goals, which we tended to cover off in December. We was looking at the big, hairy, ambitious goal and so on. Now this is shifting much more into how we can create the optimal conditions for our own success. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you have a great day. All the best.